Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. I gotta tell you guys, I get some of the most interesting questions through YouTubers. And just to give you an idea, I had one YouTuber contact me, and he didn't even contact me privately. This was a little while back, and told me that his wife found me attractive and wanted to know if I can swing by for a visit to take care of some of her needs. And I'm like, what, are you kidding me? So that was one thing that I was asked. Of course, you know, the occasional troll asked me how well I could see things with my head so far up my butt, so that's always a good question to be asked. I had an attorney contact me. You guys are going to like this one. And it was about this thing. This, I don't know, what is it called? Trail rider, pathwinder, go-kart. His story was he represented a family who one of the kids got hurt, I guess. And it had to do with the back of it here. And he said my cart appeared to be more or less intact, and he wanted me to shoot some pictures of it. I think I'm going to tell him that if he wants, he can own the cart. I guess you don't see too many of these around because they were originally made by Murray, so he says. I don't know, and they stopped producing them. So yeah, I guess they got some body part tangled up back in there, and I guess you know, for a young person or even an old person, you really don't want to get body parts tangled up back there. Though I'm not quite sure how they managed it, if they were riding the go-kart. Even to turn around and reach around, you'd really have to work some to get to that. If anything, when I got this thing, I actually thought it was fairly safe. Given that, by the way, there's a load of lawsuits pending on these things, that moves me toward getting rid of it, as in breaking it up. Honestly, it's probably worth more in parts between the tires and the live axle and everything else than it is as a go-kart. If I didn't know there were lawsuits pending on it, and my wife wasn't a retired lawyer, I would say, what's the big deal? But given that I'm well aware that there's pending lawsuits on it, it makes me a little bit more nervous about selling it. I have one gentleman who's very interested in these guys. There's two of these in the Horde. These are Yamaha DX225s. Doesn't say on the neck what they are, but I'm sure if you sniff around you'll find them. What they are is drive shaft machines. That tire's put on right. That one's backwards. Anyway, this was the runner out of the two of them, and you can see it's in pretty basic shape, right down to the carburetor off to the side. I slammed a Honda carburetor on there when I started it, so I'm just looking it over to see what kind of shape it really is in. For Honda lovers, the DX225 is a lot like, very, very similar to the ATC 250 SX, except this does not have reverse, which makes it a pest. It has the recoil starter, just like it. It's got the rear end, the straight axle rear end. This rear end's actually a little tougher than the Honda 250 rear end. It's got a bunch of nice features, but what's not so great about it is it weighs a wicked ton. It does have back and front suspension, but it weighs a wicked ton. The engine's, as I remember romping this one a little bit when I got it started. It's pretty perky. It goes out to play, but it's a heavy bike, and without reverse, it's quite honestly a pain in the butt on the trails. I make myself one heck of a salesman, don't I, for somebody who wants a bike. I think this is known as a YTM200. This thing smoked like crazy. I did manage to get it started, and that's not trivial. The Yamaha, but boy, she smoked. And you go, oh well, bike smoke. I mean, this thing this thing was an insect fogger. This was amazing. This one, once again, it's got a complete a straight rear end, a drive shaft rear end, and this one actually has reverse. So if this one actually ran as good as this one, I probably would have put the time in on it. Like someone else asking about a XR75. What is this thing? I think this is an 80. But I think behind it is 100. 10 in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A D. I don't know, this is probably early 90s. Oh wait, the other side there. What is it? 83. And it is... This is an XR80. And this guy is an XR100. So, XR80, XR100. Yeah, that's something else I was asked about. Anyway, I mentioned that I had two of those. The second one is cosmetically prettier. And it's buried in the back of the shed. It's that guy there with the blue plastic on it. And that one, when you pull the string, it makes bad sounds up on top. It sounds like like it jumped time. But that one might have got hit. The valves might have got hit because as you kind of pull the string, you hear a slappy sound going on up here. Right? You can actually hear it kind of, like makes kind of a slapping sound. So that's something else I've been asked. I get asked occasionally, I get asked wiring questions. Those I normally answer kind of individually, depending on the China bike and all that. If there's one in the Hoard, it makes it easier. I could go out and look at it and figure out what the wires are. Sometimes I could tell if they're typically wires that have power on them. Should you disconnect them? So the hot side of the wire, so to speak, it typically has a female connector on it. Though once again, if you're connecting ground, it hardly matters. But normally the hot side of the wire has a female connector on it. And the cold side, the load side, so to speak, is typically a male connector. So you kind of go through. I've wired a lot of things, a lot of these bikes up, like on this guy here, right? You could see this is obviously the red wire coming off the positive terminal on the battery, and you could see it as a female connector. So if this pulls out, right, you don't have a hot wire touching itself to ground. The ground wire isn't disconnected, so I can't show you what the connection looks like on that one. So a lot of times, once again, depending on the type of connector it has on it and whether it's male or female, I could kind of figure out what's going on with the wiring. Anyway, guys, I guess if there are any questions, please do ask. The worst I could do is you could get an I don't know, because if I don't know, I'll probably go with that rather than mislead you. Or if you get one of these I think, means you know, try this, but I'm not going to guarantee the outcome. And normally, if the possibility of the outcome is that it's going to blow up and, you know, like rip your face off or something, I'll kind of warn you to be a little bit careful about that. So yeah, please continue to ask your questions. I'm married and all, so I'm not gonna travel to take care of anybody's significant other, because I got enough of my own problems taking care of my stuff at home. And besides that, my religious beliefs don't really think that's a very good idea. And even if I believed that it was a good idea, at my age and being retired and all, I really can't afford to take half of what I have and give it away and become homeless. So it's just not a good idea in many different respects. So the answer to that question will be no. So nobody really has to bother asking it. About things for sale, let me answer that question too, because I'm asked that question frequently too. I, generally speaking, do not ever sell anything Honda. I like Honda stuff, particularly the three-wheelers and four-wheelers. So I generally speaking do not sell or give away or trade away anything Honda. For some of you say, boy, but you have a lot of stuff. Well, I've been collecting this stuff up for 30 years, and a lot of times the parts you need, some special little end fitting or something, well, everybody kind of needs that, right? I might have 10 bikes of the same, and only 1 out of the 10 has that exact part you need. So it's not that I'm being difficult, but if I give away that part that I need, now I have 10 bikes and none of that part. So I just as soon keep some of the bikes as complete as possible, because I don't know what's going to become of this stuff come my last days or after my last days. I'm assuming that my sons will probably keep some of the better stuff, some of the running stuff they would like, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get as much of it running as possible. But the other stuff, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with it. I could cough up suggestions, but it depends. It kind of depends on who they're listening to. If they're listening to my brother-in-law, there'd probably be a dumpster out front, and a lot of the stuff would get thrown away. If they're listening to some of their smarter friends, they would contact somebody, who knows something about this stuff. Maybe even contact some of my YouTube contacts, and some of those contacts could find a better home for it or a good home for it, or some of those contacts could suggest how to move it on. I don't know if there's anybody who would do a clearinghouse type thing, and even guys who let's say do Honda parts for a living, to get this huge hoard of stuff and move it someplace and then part it out and then make money on it, it would actually be a whole heck of a lot of work. It's not that bad if you get one bike and you say, well, I'm going to part it out. The seat's worth, I don't know, $50. The gas tank's worth, holds fuel, but it looks like hell, $35. The back fender's worth $25. The front fender's worth $25. And it's very easy. You take the whole thing and you part it out one piece at a time. But when you're kind of dealing with boxes and boxes of stuff, you know, you open up a box, you might find that keystone in there that's worth a fortune. Or you might just have 100 boxes of crap that isn't even worth 2 cents a pound. So I don't know. I guess my big thing is I don't plan on going over the side anytime soon. But remember, we don't always have control of that. Hence the reason why I always say enjoy all your days, because you really don't know when you're checking out. So anyway, I guess those are the questions I have for now. I hope you guys found them interesting. I hope maybe I answered some before they were asked. Guys, remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and remember to get out there and enjoy all your days. And thanks to all my subscribers, new, medium, been with me a medium amount of time, and the folks that have been around with me forever, you know, Wally particularly in that group. So anyway, guys, take care now. Bye.